will be starting in 10 seconds. Welcome to the San Mateo Arboretum Society's Zoom Succulent Topped Pumpkin Workshop seminar with Zana Lugo. It will last approximately 60 minutes and be recorded. Following the presentation will be a question and answer session. Questions may be submitted at any time or after the presentation by clicking on the chat. Here to link to the recording evaluation form to provide feedback. Before we start, a little information about what is happening at the Arboretum Society. Our nursery in San Mateo Central Park is usually open 11 to 2 on Saturdays and Sundays. Enter the north gate and wear a mask. Payment is by credit or debit card and Apple Pay. No cash is accepted. Check our website, sanmateoarboretum.org, or call 650-579-0536, extension 2 for up-to-date information. While you are in Central Park, visit the Rose Garden, Butterfly Hummingbird, and our new demonstration gardens. All are maintained by the Arboretum Society volunteers. In addition, there is an outdoor artist exhibit, usually open 10 to 3, Friday through Sunday, in the Arboretum Society's Victorian Garden. Now I'd like to introduce today's workshop instructor, Zana Lugo. As you will see, Zana has a passion for creating beautiful living arrangements. Check out her website, peaceloveplant.com, to see a selection of her creations. You can also find her at the CSM Farmers Market on Saturdays and in Burlingame on Sundays. Welcome, Zana.
Thank you, Sue. Welcome, everybody. So I'm going to walk us through the steps of putting together the succulent pumpkins, but you also have written instructions, and it's also being recorded, so you can certainly follow along or reference back to the sheet. I'd love it if you follow along, because then we can share what we create at the end. So you all came by and picked up all these wonderful cuttings and naturals. And what I did is I came in also today, picked out what I was getting, and then I started by just kind of like fine tuning and cutting and clipping some of them to work a little better on the pumpkin for myself. So I got them pretty short. So stuff with stems, I just made into smaller cuttings, and maybe some of you got like the jade branches, and then I went and I just cut all these little pieces off. So before I start my gluing, I just got everything kind of just a little cleaned up. And you probably have more materials than we'll actually need for today, which is great. And then I also kind of just sorted like all of my little naturals that I wanted. And I did cut some of these off too. I really love the jade because it's got the red tips, so I know I'm going to use a lot of that. So these are probably the pieces I'm going to use. These here. So once you've organized your plants and your naturals, the first thing we're going to do is attach the moss on top. We're working with, I think most of you got the sheet moss, which I really like because it's just a lot easier to work with. It has the green on it. You can pull it apart pretty easily. So what I like to do is I actually put the glue directly on the pumpkin, and then I take the moss and attach it that way. And we're using the taffy glue. I've tried every single glue out there, and this is what I concluded works the best for this project. So if you're following along, just go ahead and take the top of your pumpkin, your surface area, and put your glue on. Now I'm working on a board here that Sue picked up for us at Trader Joe's. And the reason I like the gourds is because they last so long. And at the end, I'm going to tell you how to get this thing to last till past January. But these are not like regular pumpkins that you would eat or carve. So really, as long as they're staying dry, they're not going to rot on you. So I put a generous amount of glue there. And it's okay to put extra moss on there because we're actually going to probably like tear it off at the end and fine tune it. So just put your clumps on the top here. I like a pumpkin or gourd with a stem too. I think that adds character. So like on this one, and this one isn't too big. It's probably like 8 inches, the one that we're working on here. But we will pack a lot of plants on those, on that 8 inches. So towards the end, I'm just getting some smaller pieces. So here's what I'm working with right now. And I already know I'm going to end up kind of pulling some of this off. So then once you get your plants, I like to kind of at first start with some of the bigger ones. And before you start gluing them, kind of figure out what your starter plants are going to be. So like this is the one I chose. I loved it with this color here. And it doesn't have to be even. Like I like to not start right in the center. I kind of like to start a little over to the side. I don't want it to look too symmetrical. So I'll probably start with like 2 or 3 of the bigger ones. And I just kind of want to see where I'm going to put them before I start gluing them on. So I think I'll start with these 3. Another benefit to like the gourds is they're very flat on the top. So they're a lot easier to work with if you have like one of those big kind of taller pumpkins that has a smaller area and it gets a little steep. So you can put the glue anywhere on the succulents. They will actually like sprout roots from around where you're gluing it. So you could even put it on the leaves, whatever, put it wherever you need so that it sticks to the moss. So I just put this one here. It actually happened to just fit snug as a bug right there. This one, so that one had like a little stem, but see this one I brought down just to a true cutting. So you can certainly cut and pull leaves away as you go, but I put a good amount of the glue on there. And we want the pumpkin to, the plants to be really tight. So as I'm working, I'm always kind of like just crunching them closer and closer together. They might move around with the glue. So this one's got a little stem on it, and I'll use the stem now. So now I've got 3 bigger ones. One of the things I like to do is I add the naturals as I go, because I think they're good fillers. So like I'm going to put a few on here before I add some more plants. I like to fill almost every little hole that I can see. And a lot of these naturals, I cut the stems, I shortened them. This one I'm going to shorten. We just keep pushing them in so that they stick. So feel free to like, you can pull the petals off or make the plant work. Here's another natural. I'm going to cut this stem. I want to try and keep the pumpkin and the stem exposed, but it's starting to get covered up with the plants. So here it's starting to come together. I usually will only put maybe like somewhere between 2 to 4 bigger succulents per pumpkin, and then I actually like to add lots of the smaller ones. That way you're actually able to get more plants onto it. So I'm going to start with like adding some of these medium ones here. And so I started in the middle and I just keep going out, just kind of keep turning the pumpkin. Put them real close together. I just glued it right up in between those two. There's like a little one that I'll squeeze in. Just adding some more of the naturals. Start on the back side. The succulents will actually be able to grow on the moss. They might actually like root in here. So one of the things you can do is after the holidays, you can certainly pull the sheet moss off the pumpkin very easily and like take this whole arrangement and put it in a pot, a terracotta pot, or put it in the garden. Or for any reason, like your pumpkin rots prior to Thanksgiving or something, you could actually just pull the sheet moss and all your plants and like glue it onto another pumpkin, since we are early in the season. I think the longest succulent pumpkin I had lasted me till March. They can go and go. I feel like the back side of this pumpkin needs a big plant on it, so I'm going to try to stick one of these. I love this one, but yes, I'm going to trim it so it can. One of the things you can do, because I'm sure everybody got more plants than they'll need for their big pumpkin, is I also like the little tiny pumpkins that they have at Trader Joe's or Safeway right now. And on those, you can maybe even just glue like 2 or 3 little succulents on it. So now I'm really looking for like the little holes I'm putting in. These really tiny ones. I'm just continuing to build. When I get towards the end, it definitely gets a little harder to like find a plant and to squeeze it into the spots. So I usually test it first before I put the glue on it. Make sure that's exactly going to fit there and it's the one I want. I try to make the pumpkin too that it's like 360, so there's not really a front or a back, but because if you want to put it on your dining table where every which direction looks like the front. So all this extra moss here, I'm eventually going to tear off so that it really looks more like this. I don't like personally to be looking at a lot of moss, so I just like a little hint of it. But if you like this look, you can certainly keep it on. So like right now, like where can I find this little jade piece to fit? So like right here, then I'm gonna put the glue on it. Some of these I'm actually having to like lift up the succulent, move it over a little bit to squeeze the new one in there. So. I think the picture, I don't know what. So now I'm probably done with the plants and I'm going to focus on adding all the little naturals all over this. I am saving, I put to side the drippers, like these ones. So those, once we're done, then we'll put those on last. have a baby setting this. I love these ones because they take up a good amount of space too on the pumpkin. Add character. This natural looks like a wood tulip. That one. I love these, but I didn't really leave myself space to put them on. Put those on another one. These I also love also. These I feel like you could either have them dripping or you could stick them in here. Find a spot. I like to just keep adding and adding and adding and sticking little naturals in all the little spaces. So what I'm going to do now, and you actually might want to wait for your pumpkin to dry, but I'll do it now because, you know, for the Zoom here. But I'm going to pull this extra moss away. But if you're at home, I'd actually maybe wait till your plants dry a little bit more. So I want the whole pumpkin to look like this side where it's just a little bit peeking out. So again, I just kind of keep pushing it in, making it tight. This glue dries pretty quickly, so. And just to show you, these were like the 3 succulents we started with, these 3. And I did end up just gluing around and over. You can't see the stem anymore, but that's it. So now I always love some drippers. So a couple, you can either like tuck these under the moss or back here like in with the plants. I like to put them in with the plants, but you want to pull a few off though. So this little string of bananas so that you got a little stem here. clear some of the. I love these red berry ones. I want to put this all around. So now we're really just putting like all the little finishing touches. We're filling in the holes, putting our drippers, pulling some of the moss away. So we're just fine tuning it. Like some of these little itty bitty pine cones, you can stick those little spots. You can certainly like even add these. I didn't put any in here, but I could see these looking nice being tucked in into some of these little spots. And feel free to shorten them if they're too long for your particular pumpkin. And we're just continuing to turn it around, turn and glue, turn and glue. So I'm going to tuck this little piece in here. Okay, I feel like I'm done. I could probably spend another 30 minutes sticking in little naturals, but I'll stop myself. So let me show you the finished piece here. Oh, this one. Right here. So we packed a lot of plants on this one. There's probably 25 to 30 plants on here. But lots of different colors, so many naturals, we've got drippers. Don't worry about the glue that's showing, it'll dry clear. This is perfect for a table. So as far as maintenance and care, and we can show, Sue made this one too. This is a nice small cute one too. Love this one. The maintenance is very light spritzing with maybe a spray bottle every couple weeks or so, very lightly, because if we want the gourd to last a good while, we don't want any like sitting water on it, especially underneath. So I mean, really less is more, very, very light spritz on that onto the plant. So succulents, they can absorb, the leaves themselves can absorb the water. You don't have to like get to the roots, and none of these have roots because we were using cuttings. So we certainly don't have to wet this part of the plant. So just like a light misting on it every 2 weeks is best. And then making sure that you keep the gourd dry. So if, for instance, you're keeping this outside, you want to probably, you know, if it's a foggy or a rainy day, bring it inside, or maybe put a little tray or something underneath it. I've had mine outside in San Mateo. Sometimes the raccoons will come and eat it. So you keep it outside, just beware of the raccoons. But it can definitely last for well through the holidays. And mainly because we're just keeping it dry, we're working with the cuttings here. And again, if yours ends up, you know, dying prior to that, you just pull the sheet moss off, or just pull the, you know, start pulling the plants off, and you could probably just transfer it right onto another pumpkin. Or if it goes all the way through the season, you can certainly pull all of these cuttings and plant them in the garden. Or what I like to do is just get like a 6-inch pot, a 6-inch terracotta pot, and just stick them all in there together. You could probably even use them next year. But I love it. It's absolutely, I love all the colors. I love the red, the orange, the pink. Definitely, if you have this out on your table during the holidays and guests come over, they will stop. They will be mesmerized. And then you can look at Sue's too. She put a lot of great naturals that I didn't end up using. I love that one. I like these. These look like little flowers. And this stand she has it on, this is actually a good thing to water it, because then the water would drip off the sides on it. So there we have it. That is our succulent pumpkin tutorial. So happy to answer any questions or give any extra tips anybody might want to know about.
Zana, that's terrific. Another beautiful creation. Thank you. Don't see any questions coming through on the chat. So if anybody has any, get them in now so Zana can answer them. And we really do appreciate Zana donating her time and a lot of materials to the Arboretum Society. So I think it's interesting that these are gourds and not actual pumpkins. Anyway, it's love the variety that we can find in the stores now. Anyway, so I don't see any questions. You've made it very clear, Zana. Everybody knows what to do.
I'll take that.
And,
Absolutely.
does anybody have any
Oh, there's
show?
one question just came in.
Should we keep the cutting stands?
Anybody have one?
Oh,
Anybody have a pumpkin that they've worked on? They want to show?
we do have one
Okay.
question, Sue, that came in. They were asking if we should keep the cutting stems long or short. I cut most of mine pretty short when I gathered mine from the options that were here at the Arboretum. So most of them, I did this with them. With the jades, I took like a whole branch and just cut the tips, because you're not going to have a lot of room for having really long stems on the pumpkin. And then on many of them that I added on here, I actually pulled away some of the leaves so that they could fit wherever I was trying to squeeze them into. So pretty short, the ones that I was working with, to give you an idea. They can root from right here.
Paula, a beautiful one she was showing there. Wow, look at that.
I love my pumpkin.
Great job, Paula.
This is my 3rd year. It's great workshop. Love it.
Oh.
Thank you.
I'd
Okay.
love to see if
Anyone
anyone
else?
visitors, if they want to share it.
Okay. All righty. So if you do need more succulents, we do have a lot here at the Arboretum. If you want to make another pumpkin or I think we temporarily lost the connection, but I think we're back now. I'm not quite sure where we stopped. But anyway, thanks, Zana.
Thank
And
you. Your pumpkins and your holidays.
in a few days, you will be emailed a link to recording of the presentation and an evaluation form. Any unanswered questions can be addressed at that time, and we would appreciate feedback on what worked and where we can improve. Please join us for future seminars and workshops. Our free November 7th Zoom seminar will be the ABCs of setting up a drip irrigation system with Frank Nickley. Go to our website, sanmataoarboretum.org, to register. You may also be interested in registering for our popular annual December